The greatest project you will ever undertake is not your career. It is not your business. It is not your bank account, your title, or the applause you chase. The greatest project you will ever undertake is you. Because no matter how far you climb in the world, if the soul behind the success is starving, it will all collapse under the weight of what you neglected. Success, real success, starts with self-mastery. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job, and the job will take care of itself. You see, the world pays you not merely for what you do, but for who you become in the process. You don't get rich by working harder than everyone. You get rich by becoming someone more valuable than you were yesterday. And value doesn't come from the title on your business card. It comes from the depth of your thinking, the strength of your discipline, the clarity of your vision, the fire in your spirit. Your job pays your bills, but your growth pays your destiny. Most people wake up every day racing to meet deadlines, to please bosses, to chase numbers. They treat themselves like machines, useful only as long as they can produce. They run from task to task, email to email, never stopping to ask the one question that can change it all. Who am I becoming? Because if you build your job but neglect your character, your resume might grow, but your soul will shrink. Your reputation might expand, but your capacity for peace will wither. That's the trap. And millions are in it. Exhausted, burnt out, bitter, because they worked harder on their image than on their identity. But not you. Not anymore. You are the sculptor in the stone. You are the architect in the foundation. You are the worker and the work. And if you decide, truly decide to make yourself your masterpiece, then no circumstance, no economy, no boss, no rejection can stop what's coming. This isn't about arrogance. This is about alignment. It's about realizing that you are not here to serve a title. You are here to build a temple one brick of character at a time. So let's begin where all greatness begins, with mindset. Your mind is not a vessel to be filled with noise. It is a forge, a sacred space where thoughts are cast into beliefs and beliefs become behavior. The greatest advantage you can ever give yourself is to take command of your inner dialogue, because every action you take, every risk you avoid, every dream you pursue or abandon flows from one source, the story you believe about yourself. And if that story is one of limitation, of fear, of waiting until you're ready, then even the greatest opportunity will feel like a threat. But if your story is forged in possibility, if your mindset is trained to see challenge as fuel, not fire, then your external world will begin to mirror your internal truth. This is the law. The inner always creates the outer. So guard your mind like it's sacred, because it is. Feed it with books that awaken you. Surround it with people who stretch you. Challenge it with questions that disrupt your comfort. The mind, like a muscle, grows through resistance. The more you train it, the more it begins to work for you, not against you. And once the mind is aligned, the next layer reveals itself: belief. Belief is not just something you have, it's something you build. You weren't born doubting yourself. You were taught to, conditioned by failure, by fear, by people who settled before they ever tried. But belief can be reclaimed, reforged. It's a decision to see yourself not as you are, but as you could be. It's the courage to walk into the unknown, not because it's safe, but because it's yours. Most people wait for proof before they believe. They wait for the promotion before they feel valuable. They wait for the applause before they trust their voice. But belief doesn't come after success. It creates success. It is the invisible root that gives rise to visible fruit. And here's the truth. If you can't see it in your mind, you'll never hold it in your hand. So build belief through evidence. Start keeping the promises you make to yourself. Small wins. Daily discipline. When you say you'll do something, do it. Not for the world, for you. Every time you follow through, you cast a vote for the identity you are becoming. And the more votes you cast, the more powerful your belief becomes. Until one day you stop asking, can I? And start declaring, I will. Then comes clarity. Clarity is power, not noise, not hustle, not being busy. Clarity, knowing why you do what you do, knowing what matters and what doesn't. Most people fail not because they're weak, but because they're scattered. They chase too many things. They say yes to every distraction. They drown in obligations that don't align with their mission. But when you have clarity, you become dangerous. You say no without guilt. You cut ruthlessly. You protect your priorities like sacred ground. Because when the path is clear, decisions are simple. Discipline is easy, and progress becomes inevitable. You don't need to do more. You need to do less, with more focus, more intention, more conviction. Success isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things with everything you've got. And from that clarity, vision is born. Vision is not a goal. Vision is a picture of your future, so compelling, so vivid, so emotionally charged that it pulls you forward when motivation fades, when the alarm rings, when the failure stings, when the world laughs. Vision is the lighthouse in the storm. And here's what most people miss. Your vision must be yours, not your parents', not your industry's, not society's, yours. It must come from the deep place within that knows what makes you come alive. Because you can fake motivation, you can fake discipline, but you can't fake soul. And if your dream doesn't have soul, it will never survive the struggle. So write it down. See it in your mind, taste it, touch it, live in it every single day. Because when the vision is clear, the grind becomes sacred. And you begin to work not just for outcomes, but from alignment. And when vision takes hold, purpose ignites. Purpose is not found. Purpose is chosen. It is not a lightning bolt. It is a fire you build brick by brick with your own hands. Purpose says, my life is not random. My days are not accidents. I am here for something. It doesn't have to be flashy. It doesn't have to be loud, but it must be real. Because when you know your purpose, pain has meaning. Sacrifice becomes sacred, and struggle becomes part of the story you want to tell. You stop asking, what do I have to do today? And you start asking, who can I become through what I do today? And that question leads to the door most never enter. Discipline. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect. It is the declaration that your future matters more than your feelings, that your standards matter more than your mood, that your destiny matters more than your distractions. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and results. It's waking up when you said you would, showing up when no one's watching, repeating the reps when nobody's cheering. It's the quiet work, the unsexy work, the lonely work, but it's the work that works. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems, and your systems are built by discipline. Discipline is remembering that every action is a seed, and though you may not see the harvest today, the soil remembers. Life remembers. And in time, it rewards the ones who kept sowing when the field looked barren. And when discipline becomes identity, action flows like water. You no longer need to be pushed because you've become pulled, not by pressure, but by purpose. You stop waiting for the right time, the right mood, the right conditions. You act because you are the kind of person who acts. And here's the beauty. Small actions compound. A single choice, repeated daily, becomes a habit becomes a lifestyle, and a lifestyle becomes a destiny. You become what you do repeatedly, not what you say, not what you wish, what you do, every day, in the dark, when no one's watching. That's where identity is forged. That's where greatness is born. And once action becomes your nature, gratitude becomes your compass. Not the shallow kind of gratitude, the kind that's paraded on holidays or posted for likes. No, I'm talking about the kind of gratitude that humbles you, the kind that brings you to your knees in the quiet moments and makes you whisper, thank you for this breath, for this challenge, for this chance to grow. Gratitude is not a reaction. It's a posture, a lens, a discipline of seeing power in what others overlook. Because when you train your eyes to find the gift, even pain becomes treasure. Even failure becomes a teacher. Even the waiting becomes preparation. You see, life doesn't give you more because you demand it. Life gives you more because you appreciate what you already have. You don't attract abundance by chasing it. You attract it by honoring what's already in your hands. That's the paradox. You rise higher the moment you ground deeper. You elevate not because you fight for more, but because you cherish what you already stand on. Gratitude unlocks perspective. And perspective is the oxygen of resilience. Because when the storms come, and they will, gratitude is what anchors you. When the clients vanish, when the deal falls through, when the people betray you, gratitude keeps your heart from turning bitter. It protects the gold inside you from the rust of resentment. And that gold is what must adapt, because nothing alive stays the same. Growth demands evolution. Success is not static. It is dynamic, fluid, ever-shifting, and so must you be. Adaptability is the superpower of the wise. The ones who cling to old ways, old stories, old identities they break. But the ones who stay fluid, who flow like water through the cracks of change, they bend, but they do not break. They pivot, but they never panic. Adaptability is not weakness. It is power under pressure. It's the ability to keep your mission while changing your method. To hold tight to your purpose while letting go of your pride. To evolve, not because you're uncertain, but because you're unshakable. The oak tree looks strong, but it snaps in a hurricane. The reed, though fragile, bends with the wind and survives. Be the reed. Be the force that flows. And when change shakes your life, resilience holds your ground. Resilience is not the absence of pain, it is the refusal to be ruled by it. It's the inner steel that says, this storm will not bury me, it will build me. Resilience doesn't need applause. It doesn't post its struggle. It doesn't ask for pity. It shows up. Bleeding, perhaps. Bruised, maybe, but never broken. Because when you work harder on yourself than you do on your job, you become unbreakable from within. The world can take your job, your title, your income, but it cannot take your becoming. And that becoming is what keeps rising, long after others would have quit. Every setback you survive, every disappointment you outlast, adds another layer to your armor. Not the kind of armor that hardens your heart, but the kind that strengthens your spirit. So when the dream delays, don't despair. When the results are slow, don't retreat. When the road gets dark, don't curse. It light your own fire. Become the one who walks forward even when the map is missing. And let that fire be fueled by learning. Lifelong learning isn't a luxury, it's your edge. The moment you think you've arrived is the moment you begin to fall. Because the world never stops changing. And neither can you. Learn from everyone. Learn from failure. Learn from feedback. Learn from the janitor and the CEO. From the ancient and the young, from the past and the present. Don't let your pride blind you. Don't let your ego defend ignorance. Stay curious. Stay humble. Stay hungry. Every book you read, every mentor you listen to, every moment you reflect, that's another seed of greatness being planted in your soil. The question is, will you water it? Will you show up day after day, not to impress the world, but to improve yourself? Because in the end, it's not what you do that matters most. It's who you become while doing it. Jobs will come and go. Markets will rise and fall. But character, discipline, belief, vision, these are the eternal currencies of a meaningful life. So let the world see your success, but let the foundation of that success be your inner work. Work harder on your character than on your compensation. Work harder on your growth than on your goals. Work harder on your principles than on your profits. Because what you build in you, no one can ever take away. And when you live like this, when you truly live from the inside out, something begins to shift. People start noticing. Opportunities start finding you. Doors you never even knocked on begin to open. Not because you were lucky, not because you were loud, but because you became the kind of person those doors open for. So if you want to raise your standards, If you want to lead others first, lead yourself. If you want to change your results, change your rituals. Because in the quiet hours when no one is watching, when the applause has faded and the spotlight has dimmed, that is where the real work begins. And if you dare, if you're bold enough to make that work your mission, if you decide once and for all to work harder on yourself than you do on your job, then I promise you this: your life, your impact, your legacy will rise to meet you. You will notice that what once felt like struggle now feels like preparation. That the weight you once cursed was only there to carve the strength you carry now. That the nights of doubt, the mornings of silence, the countless repetitions in the dark, they were never punishment. They were a refining fire. Because the true prize was never the job. It was never the status. It was never the number in the bank. The prize was who you became through the process. And the greatest tragedy is not failure at success without fulfillment. It's reaching the top of the mountain only to realize you brought a stranger with you, yourself. That's why the inner work matters. Because it ensures that when you win, it is you who wins. The authentic you, the whole you, the you that didn't sell your soul for speed, the you that didn't abandon your principles for applause, the you that stayed grounded while everything around you was changing, the you that kept building when no one believed, the you that kept rising when everything screamed, give up, the you that remembered, I am not here to perform, I am here to transform. And with that transformation comes something no job can ever offer you: freedom. Not just financial freedom, not just time freedom, but internal freedom. The freedom to walk into any room without needing to be liked. The freedom to speak your truth without fear of rejection. The freedom to choose your path, not because it's safe, but because it's yours. That kind of freedom is forged in the furnace of inner work. You won't find it in a job description. You won't learn it in a weekend seminar. You won't stumble upon it accidentally. You earn it, brick by brick, choice by choice, day by day. And here's the final truth. The world doesn't need more people chasing jobs. It needs more people becoming alive. Because a job can build a career, but only self-work builds a life. So if today you are tired, if you are stuck, if you feel like the dream is too far, too big, too heavy, let me tell you this: you are not broken. You are becoming. You are not behind. You are building. You are not lost. You are being led by something deeper than titles, deeper than money, deeper than even success. You are being led by a call that says, make your life a masterpiece. Let your days be your testimony. Build something no one can take away. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job, and watch what happens. And if you do, you will not just change your results. You will not just change your income. You will not just change your circumstances. You will change your identity. You will walk differently, think differently, love differently, lead differently. And that difference, that inner transformation, will ripple into everything you touch. That's how movements begin. That's how legacies are born. And that's how the world is changed. Not by titles, not by systems, but by one person who decided to rise. One person who said, my job will not define me. My habits will, my values will, my vision will. So let today be the line. Let today be the moment you stop outsourcing your greatness. Let today be the declaration that says, I will never again work harder on something outside me than I work on what's inside me. Because when you commit to that kind of life, nothing can stop you. Nothing can break you. Nothing can take from you what you've earned within. The world will try to distract you, to impress you, to seduce you with shortcuts, with vanity, with applause. Ignore it. Get quiet, get clear, get real, and do the work that only you can do the work on you. Because that is the real job. That is the sacred labor. That is the one investment that compounds without fail, without fear, without permission. So get to work and don't ever stop. And as you keep going deeper than motivation, deeper than discipline, you will begin to discover something even more powerful. Identity. Not the identity they gave you. Not the one written on your resume or worn like a uniform. Not the mask you wear to survive, to fit in, to be approved. But the real one, the ancient one, the one that existed before the world taught you how to shrink. That identity is not built, it is revealed. And it is revealed through the fire of becoming. Because every time you choose growth over comfort, truth over image, excellence over average, you strip away the layers that were never you. And what's left is the pure core, not the role you play, not the version of you others tolerate, but the real you, the one with iron in your words and fire in your breath. That identity is your foundation. And once you've built it, no job, no economy, no trend can shake it. Because it doesn't depend on what you do, it flows from who you are. And once you operate from that level, you stop needing permission. You stop waiting for someone to crown you worthy. You stop negotiating with mediocrity. You become the source. You walk into rooms not to impress, but to impact. You don't talk louder, you speak deeper. You don't run faster, you move with certainty. Because you've built something on the inside that no title could ever match. You become dangerous. Not because of your aggression, but because of your alignment. Not because of your ambition, but because of your awareness. You know who you are. You know what you stand for. And you will not be moved. That is the level where influence is born. Not from charisma, but from clarity. Not from hype, but from integrity. Not from how many follow you, but from how deeply you followed yourself. Because when you become someone of substance, success becomes magnetic. You don't chase it flows. You don't force it unfolds. And the world begins to respond, not to your hustle, but to your frequency. Because you've done the work, the real work. You've paid the price in silence, in sweat, in sacrifice. You've built yourself when no one was clapping, and now the world begins to echo what you've already declared in private. But hear me clearly, this is not the end. There is no finish line. The self is infinite. There is always more to master, always another edge to sharpen, another lie to dismantle, another level of truth to rise into. So don't stop, don't settle, don't shrink just because the crowd starts clapping. Keep becoming, keep forging, keep evolving. Because the moment you stop working on yourself, you begin to atrophy. The greatest threat to success is not failure. It is comfort. The most dangerous voice you will ever hear is the one that says you've done enough. No, you've only begun. Because the work you do on yourself echoes beyond your own life. It teaches your children what integrity looks like. It shows your friends what's possible. It inspires strangers you'll never meet. And it sets a standard not just for you, but for everyone who crosses your path. You become a mirror that reflects what's possible when someone decides to take full responsibility for their own life. And that reflection is more powerful than any speech, any strategy, any system. It's the power of a life lived on purpose. So keep sharpening the blade. Keep cleansing the heart. Keep stretching the mind. Keep grounding the soul. Because the more you work on you, the less you need from the world. And the less you need, the more you attract. Not from desperation, but from embodiment. You become the evidence, the proof, the walking permission slip that says, it can be done, it must be done, and it will be done through me. That is what the world needs. Not more resumes, not more noise, not more polished profiles and hollow accomplishments, but more human beings who are whole. More people whose power comes not from what they have, but from who they are. So take that seriously. Make your self-work sacred. Wake up early to master it. Stay up late to guard it. Protect your rituals like your life depends on them, because it does. Because every choice you make either nourishes the masterpiece or neglects it. So ask yourself each day, did I grow today? Did I confront something uncomfortable? Did I stretch past the old version of me? And if the answer is yes, even just a little, then you are winning. Not just in the world, but in the mirror. And that's the only place that truly matters. Because when you win there, the rest follows. Then breathe deep and listen closely, because this is the moment everything changes, not out there, but in here. Not in your circumstances, not in your schedule, not in your salary, in your soul. Because this is the moment you stop negotiating with your lower self. You stop asking the world for permission. You stop waiting for the right time to rise. This is the moment you decide. I am done living as a fraction of who I am. Done shrinking to fit rooms that cannot hold my potential. Done diluting my voice so I don't make others uncomfortable. Done abandoning my own greatness to be accepted by people who haven't even accepted themselves. You don't need another degree to be worthy. You don't need more experience to be dangerous. You don't need another job title to lead. What you need is to decide. Decide that your life is not a rehearsal. Decide that your potential is not a theory. Decide that the real you is not some distant version waiting at the end of a long road. The real you is here, now, ready. But he will not emerge by accident. She will not rise by default. You must call yourself forth with courage, with conviction, with fire in your belly and steel in your spine. You must choose the path few dare to walk, the path of self-responsibility, of radical self-honesty, of daily self-investment. You must choose to rise just once, but every day. Rise when you're tired. Rise when you're scared. Rise when you failed. Rise when you've been overlooked, underestimated, misunderstood, because your job may give you a paycheck, but you give your life meaning. And no one, not your boss, not your parents, not your past, can do that for you. That is your job, your sacred responsibility. So go back to the mirror. Look yourself in the eyes and say, I will work harder on myself than I do on anything else in this life. Because I am the foundation. I am the engine. I am the standard. This life will rise or fall, not by what I do occasionally, but by who I become consistently. And I choose to become unstoppable, unshakable, undeniable, because I am done waiting for change. I am the change. I am the first domino, the shift in my family, the pattern breaker, the curse destroyer, the leader I was waiting for. And I will not stop until my life is the loudest evidence of what's possible when someone works harder on themselves than they do on their job. That is the call. That is the challenge. And that is the choice you must make. Not once, but every single day. So rise and become, because the world has enough employees. It needs more warriors, more leaders, more masters of self. And that is exactly who you were born to be. So start today. Start with one habit, 1 hour, one honest decision, and never stop, because every masterpiece is made of single strokes. Every revolution begins within, and every extraordinary life starts with one vow. I will work harder on myself than I do on my job. Now go and build the life that only you were born to build. The rain doesn't ask permission before it falls. The sun doesn't need applause to rise. And you were not born to be a spectator of your own life. You are not made to drift in circles, to echo excuses, to recite the story others handed to you, and call it fate. You were made to choose. You are not a product of what happened to you. You are not the echo of your environment. You are not the final result of your upbringing, your city, your job title, or your trauma. You are a product of decision, and the decisions you refuse to make, they are building your life as much as the ones you do. Every indecision is a decision. Every hesitation is a direction. Every time you say, I don't know, you've just chosen nothing, and nothing compounds just as fast as something. You see, most people are waiting for better conditions, waiting for more clarity, waiting for some invisible sign that says, now it's your time. But life doesn't work that way. Life doesn't bend for those who hesitate. It only opens to those who decide, those who stand at the crossroads and say, I don't care if I'm scared. I don't care if I'm uncertain. I choose, because that is where power lives. Not in knowing, not in feeling ready, but in deciding anyway. Decision is a blade. It cuts through confusion. It slices away the lies. It tells your future. I am no longer at the mercy of circumstance. I am the maker now. Because let me tell you the truth. Circumstance is not your ceiling. It is your starting line. And the only thing standing between where you are and where you could be is the decision you keep avoiding. The decision to speak, to leave, to stay, to begin, to let go, to rise again. Because the decisions you make in silence will scream louder than any storm you face. Your job is not to know everything. It is not to feel perfect. It is not to have every step mapped. Your job is to decide to move and let movement show you who you are becoming. Because decision is more than a mental shift. It is a soul contract. It is the moment you stop renting your life and start owning it. So what do you believe? Do you believe you are too broken? Too far behind? Too late? That is a decision. And decisions are choices of belief. You can choose differently. You can say, today, I stop blaming what built me. Today, I choose to build myself. You can say, I will no longer major in minor things. I will no longer chase distraction. I will no longer be a victim of a life I refuse to author, because the pen is still in your hand. And the question is not whether you're capable. The question is whether you're willing to pay the price of clarity, willing to face the friction of discipline, willing to risk failure for the possibility of freedom. You see, decision isn't just about progress. It's about identity. Because every decision you make either confirms who you used to be or commits you to who you're becoming. Every day you get to decide which version of you lives another 24 hours. And the beautiful, brutal truth, that decision is always yours. So yes, let's go deeper. Let's pull the mask off of mindset. Because mindset is not some feel-good buzzword. It is the operating system of your life. It's not what you say you believe when things are going well. It's what you do when everything breaks. And most people, they've outsourced their mindset to circumstance. They feel good when the money flows. They feel strong when they're applauded. They feel certain when the path is smooth. But that's not mindset. That's momentum disguised as meaning. Real mindset, it's forged in friction. It's what whispers we keep going when everything else says stop. It's what says, I choose to see this failure as feedback. I choose to see this delay as data. I choose to see this pain as preparation. Because mindset is a decision, not an emotion, not a personality trait, a choice made daily. And the core of that mindset, belief, not blind belief, not fake confidence, but a grounded, earned, unshakable belief that says, I was not born to drift. I was not built for average. I may have come from circumstance, but I am rising by decision. Belief is the most powerful decision you'll ever make, because your belief becomes your biology. It becomes your behavior. It becomes your reality. And every time you say, I'm not that kind of person, you reinforce the chain that's keeping you bound. But when you say, what if I am? You crack the door to a new life wide open. You see, the story you believe is the life you build. And when belief shifts, everything follows. But belief alone is not enough. You must back it with discipline, because a decision without discipline is just another daydream. Discipline is the declaration that says, my actions don't answer to how I feel. They answer to who I decided to be. Discipline is not punishment. It's not self-denial. It's self-respect. It's the daily demonstration that says, I'm serious about my future. Serious enough to say no to what's easy. Serious enough to build routines that protect my identity, not just my comfort. And the moment discipline locks in, your calendar changes. Your circle tightens. Your words sharpen. Your time becomes sacred. Because now, you don't live by emotion. You live by alignment. And the discipline becomes freedom. Because now, you don't need motivation. You are motivation. You don't ask for clarity, you walk in it. You don't seek validation. You are the standard. This is what decision looks like in motion. Clarity without apology. Conviction without compromise. Consistency without noise. Because this is where your life begins to take form. Not in theory, but in movement. Because decision without action is just noise. Just another thought trapped in your head. Another dream unbuilt. Another potential locked behind someday. But you are not here to wait for someday. You are here to build today. And action is sacred. Action doesn't care how scared you are. It doesn't care how confused you feel. Action only asks one thing. Will you move anyway? Because every action is a vote for who you're becoming. Every workout, every morning you rise before the sun. Every time you say no to what's easy and yes to what's aligned, you are casting a vote for the future that's already calling your name. This is how change compounds. Not by magic, not by motivation, by motion, by doing what others delay, by building when no one's watching, by moving in the dark until the results scream so loud the world can't ignore you anymore. But even action must learn to adapt, because the plan will break. Life will shift. Storms will come, and you will have to bend without breaking. This is where adaptability is born. Not in comfort, but in your willingness to evolve. You stop being romantic about the route. You fall in love with the destination, and you learn how to pivot without losing your posture. Because being adaptable doesn't mean being passive. It means being strategic. You don't give up. You adjust. You don't fall apart. You refocus. You don't shrink. You sharpen. That's resilience. Not bouncing back. Bouncing forward. Resilience says, throw what you want at me. I'll build with it. Resilience isn't about avoiding the fall. It's about choosing what you do when you hit the ground. Most people fall and get bitter. You fall and get better. Because now you're a learner. You study pain. You study mistakes. You study yourself. You know that every challenge is a course, and every setback holds a syllabus of truth. You become obsessed with growth, because the moment you stop learning is the moment you start dying. But now you're alive. Now you are awake. And now you're becoming unbreakable. Because when learning is your lifestyle, there is no loss, only leveling up. So what happens next? You integrate. You don't just do different things. You become someone new. And now you've stopped reacting to life. You've rewritten it. Then let's bring it home. Because this is no longer a speech. It's a summoning. A summoning of the version of you that was buried beneath fear, beneath noise, beneath the illusion that life just happens. You know better now. You know that life doesn't happen to you. It happens through you, through what you decide, through what you repeat, through what you believe when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, when no one even understands what you're building. Because most won't. They won't understand why you disappear to build, why you say no to the weekend, why you stay quiet in rooms that once defined you, why your old excuses no longer work on you. But that's okay. You weren't born to be understood. You were born to understand yourself, and now you do. You understand that discipline is your language. You understand that action is your native tongue. You understand that failure is just feedback, and resistance is the gym where greatness is carved. You understand that belief is not optional. It's oxygen. And now, final, you've decided. You've decided that your life is not a fluke. You've decided that you are not a side character. You've decided that you are not your fears, your doubts, or your past. You are not a product of your environment. You are not a statistic. You are not a shadow of what could have been. You are a product of decision, and decision is destiny made visible. So now you walk different. You speak different. You live different. Not because life got easier, but because you got clearer. Clear about who you are. Clear about what you're building. Clear about what you'll no longer tolerate from the world, from others, from yourself. And that clarity, that decision, that alignment, that's the frequency where everything changes. Because when your philosophy changes, your actions follow. And when your actions change, your outcomes follow. And when your outcomes change, the world responds, not by accident, but by design. Your design, the design that started the moment you said, I am no longer waiting. I am no longer blaming. I am no longer negotiating with smallness. From this day forward, I am no longer a product of circumstance. I am the product of decision. And now the world has no choice but to rise to meet you